In this video, I'm going to explain reading ability levels and the use of read-aloud, think-alouds to assess reading abilities in content area classrooms. Let's begin with reading ability levels. When assigning students to read a text to learn content information, it is useful to find out what reading ability level that text is for them. A text can be at a student's independent level, instructional level, or frustration level. The independent level is the level at which the student can decode and comprehend the text without support. The instructional level is the level at which a student can decode and comprehend the text with some support. This support can come from peers as well as teachers. The frustration level is the level at which a student struggles to adequately decode and comprehend a text even with support. To learn information from texts in content area classes, the text should be at a student's independent or instructional level. Students who are struggling to decode and comprehend a text at their frustration level would have trouble learning information in the text. Reading ability levels have been used by educators for quite some time and can indeed provide a useful guide when selecting texts for students to read. However, there are literacy researchers and educators who caution against using these as strict guidelines for what students can and cannot read because there are many factors involved in a student's ability to successfully understand a text. These factors include a student's motivation to read and background knowledge about the topic of the text. These factors are not taken into account in most methods used to assess a student's level of reading ability. One way to identify a student's reading ability level of a text is to administer a closed test. To administer a closed text, select a passage with about 300 words. Delete every fifth word, beginning with any word in the second sentence. The student then guesses the missing words. You calculate the percent of words the student correctly provided. A text is likely at a student's independent level if they scored a 60% or higher. At their instructional level if they scored 40 to 59%, and at their frustration level if they scored 39% or lower. Now I am going to explain a useful assessment method called a read-aloud, think-aloud. This is an informal reading assessment. Educators can conduct a read-aloud, think-aloud assessment with a student to learn more about the strategies a student is using to actively construct meaning of a text. To conduct a read-aloud, think-aloud, first select a content text a student could read for class to learn content information. Then ask the student to read the text out loud and stop often to share what they are thinking and doing while reading. Be sure to carefully observe everything the student says or does while reading, so you can identify the strategies they are using to comprehend texts. Finally, use your observation to identify the strategies the student needs to learn to more successfully comprehend texts. For example, let's say I conducted a read-aloud, think-aloud assessment with a high school student who is reading a portion of a biology textbook, and I observed that the student skipped reading the titles of sections and then struggled to summarize the gist of what the text was about after reading. I could then conclude that the student needed to learn how to use parts of a textbook, such as the titles, to be able to summarize the most important information. Read-aloud, think-aloud assessments can provide a content area teacher with valuable information about what strategies the student needs to learn to be a more active and successful reader. Read-aloud, think-aloud assessments allow you to get a glimpse inside the thinking of students while they're reading to better support the work they do to understand texts, to learn information. Try one today.